Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Haley, and today we're going to kind of wrap up our year in reading. We're going to talk about our faves and our not so faves, and we're going to talk about how we did on our goals that we set at the beginning of the year.
I think we did pretty well. But we'll get to that. So what are your favorite books from this year?
My favorite books of the year were really hard to pick. I read a lot of books this year. We were going to do 5 and 5 on faves and fails kind of thing. But I decided to do 6 faves and 4 not faves because that just worked out better for me. And I kind of went into it thinking about different genres and how they were my favorites and which ones I just really liked more. Because I had a ton of 5 stars. I'm way too generous with my 5 stars. I can't help it. I love everything. And my first one is for a contemporary, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's amazing, and you should all read that book. It is possibly the best release of the year. I mean, I haven't read everything, but the buzz around this book. It's got truth in it. It's not just hype. You should read the book. And then my favorite sci-fis were sort of tied, and that's possibly because I wasn't sure whether one was a sci-fi or a fantasy because it had a lot of feelings of both, and that was The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. I would classify it as a fantasy, but I think a lot of people classify it as sci-fi because it feels very otherworldly as opposed to, it does not feel very earthly. It feels very alien. I really loved that book. That whole series was amazing, but the first one is specifically, really good. And I think that if you're looking for a book by a woman of color that is, different, I would look into that book. I think it's very interesting. And then, of course, Anathan, which he suggested to me. And I read it for our, month of books. We picked each other's TBR. It's really great. It's a bazillion pages long. It's really hard to read. I don't know that I can really recommend it to anybody because I think you have to be a very particular kind of person to like that book. But I am that kind of person. And I liked it a lot. Monks are the best.
Yes.
Love monks. My favorite fantasy of the year was 3 Dark Crowns by Kendari Blake. I read, all of the books in the series. Even the new one that came out, I was the first one in line for it at the library. I really liked them. It is dark and kind of gross and beautiful, and I really like it, and I cannot wait for the next book. And it's going to be so long. It's going to kill me waiting for this book. My favorite nonfiction was Radium Girls by Kate Moore. I read it for book club, but it has been on my to-read list for a really long time. It's extremely hard-hitting, and if you're interested in scientific advancement and medical scandals in the U.S., I would definitely recommend reading it. Also, if you've ever doubted the power of labor, you should read that book. Because those women are the reason why we have OSHA, and I did not know that before reading that book. And then my kind of surprise out of nowhere book was The Hunger by Alma Katsu. I would have never picked that book. I only read it because of book club, and it was one of the best books I read this year. It was terrifying. I stayed up with the light on one night because I had to finish it because I couldn't read it another night. It is excellent. Alma Katsu has a strange brain to be able to do all that research and make something feel so historically accurate and so, supernaturally terrifying at the same time. It's a great book. And those are all my faves.
Yeah. So my, I don't have these in any particular order, but my favorites this year, The Likeness by Tana French, which was one that Haley picked for me for the, it's not up there right now.
Oh, it used to be up there.
Yeah, it's over there on the bookshelf. Yeah, we took it down so I could read it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought about it.
Anyways, it was one that she picked for our Picking Each Other TBR challenge, and it just really kind of surprised me with how much I liked it. It's just, I've talked about it at length before, so I'm not really going to say a whole lot more here, but just the in-depth character portraits that it painted, and it's a murder mystery, but honestly, I wouldn't disinterested in the murder mystery, but that is not the attraction.
The murder is super secondary in that
It
book.
really is. After that was the Serpent King by Jeff Centner, which was another pick by Haley for me that I just loved. It really reminds me of John Green's books. It gave me all the feels. It is a was it YA contemporary that is just really good and will make you cry, and like it's great. Next up, the fifth season by N.K. Jemisin. Haley pretty much discussed that at length already.
We made a whole video about it. We'll link it down below.
Yeah.
About how much we love those books.
That trilogy is spectacular, and the world building is just amazing, and there's just so much there, and it's so different, and like dark, and just thought-provoking, and I really liked it. After that was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, which was one that I'd seen a lot of hype for, but didn't really seem like my sort of thing, despite being post-apocalyptic-y. But I really liked it. It was just very, like, a mood piece. It didn't really have a, like, super strong plot so much as it was just an experience, just a bunch of vignettes of different characters, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it. And my final pick, The Conquest of Bread by Peter Kropotkin, which was it's a nonfiction, it's a political treatise. I just really, like, it's one that I'm really glad I read. I enjoyed it. It was really thought-provoking. I just feel like it was very, it's different from the sort of nonfiction that I normally read, and I don't read a ton of nonfiction, so it just felt very getting out of my comfort zone, and kind of expanding my horizons and exposure to different points of view. So it's just a book that I'm really glad that I read. And that's my top 5 for this year in no particular order.
Honestly, I think we had a pretty good reading year.
Yeah.
Overall. We both, like, read a lot of books that we were, like, telling each other, oh, I really like this book.
Yeah, no, I actually had to shortchange my not faves list, because honestly, I just didn't have enough to make 5.
But going on to those not faves, I didn't have a lot, but the ones I had, I felt pretty strongly about. The one I felt the least strongly about, like, it's not like I hated this book or anything, but I didn't finish it. And it's the only book I did not finish this year. It is also the only book I did not finish in the last 2 years. It's boring. It's boring, the characters are unlikable, and it was marketed as a cozy mystery and felt distinctly non-cozy. Other than that, One of Us by Alice Demarot Dreger was my most disappointing book of the year. I rated it 4 stars, which is still a pretty high rating, but it had a ton of, like, problems, and the more I think about it, and I can't stop thinking about it, the more angry I get. It is a book that is sort of pitched as being very intersectional and very about, like, identity and where we begin and end, and it is, but there are some very, like, anti-woman undertones in that book that I found extremely upsetting. So, The Calling by Ingres Ashwolf is a terrible, terrible mystery. It's bad at being a mystery. It's just not a good book. I finished it, though. Like, it did at least get me to finish the book, so. But it was, like, supposed to be like an old lady solving mysteries type thing, which I was very interested in, except for she wasn't that old. And she was kind of an asshole. And had no, like, old lady charm. Her mom did. But her mom wasn't in the book that much. And my worst read of the year was Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Berry, which I only read because of book club. And it was terrible. None of us liked it. I was one of the few that finished it. It is absolutely awful. I like Ray Bradbury. I like the Illustrated Man, who was a character in the book. I like the other book. There's, like, short stories that are based on his tattoos. That one's great. This book is terrible, and I don't know. Maybe I just don't like classic books. I haven't read a classic I liked in a long time. That's all my not faves.
My not faves. So for the most part, with one exception, my not faves are. I want to preface this by saying that they are not like bad books. They are mostly books that I like wanted to like more than I actually ended up liking them.
No, you get a lot of disappointing ones.
Yeah, and it really, but with most of these, that really reflects more on. Not even on me so much as like I didn't click with them. Like I'm not quite the right audience for them, but I thought that they were good, just not for me. I only have 4. I would have had a 5th one, but I haven't brought myself to finish it yet. Teaser for a future video. I'm going to be talking about this book at more length at some point, because I kind of want to DNF it, but I'm so close to the end, so I'll force myself to finish it eventually. Also, there are reasons that I need to do it regardless, but we'll get to that. Future video. So the first one on my not faves list was "We'll Save the Galaxy for Food" by Yahtzee Croshaw, and honestly, it is the worst on the list. I think I'm kind of starting with my least fave, I guess. I've liked some of his stuff in the past, but it didn't really have any super original ideas or like execution of clever ideas or whatnot, which has been a lot of what I've enjoyed about Yahtzee Crowshaw's comedic writing in the past. It had some pretty problematic humor in it. It was disappointing and not really very good. Space Opera by Catherine M. Valenti is one that I wanted to like it a lot more than I did. It came highly recommended by Hank Green, and I thought that it would really click with me, and it just didn't quite. It's great, don't get me wrong. It's beautifully written, and it has things to say, and it just didn't quite click with me in the way that I think the author intended for it to. Uncompromising Honor by David Weber, which he hasn't written a book in that series in years and years, and he finally did, and it wasn't bad, but honestly, it's just that whole series for me, it's been very gradual, and it's not bad, but it's been very gradually just sort of becoming less what I liked about that series in the first place. And I'm sort of glad that it brought it to it's not even the end of the series, but it's the end for me, probably. I don't think I'm going to, or at least I probably will. I'm always looking for new stuff to read, and I'll always read a book by an author that I've already read, just because it's comfortable. But it's, in my head, kind of the headcanon ending point of that series, because I've just sort of stopped caring. So it wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good in a lot of ways, but it wasn't. It was kind of disappointing. And finally is Tool of War by Paolo Bacigalupi, which I feel bad about putting on this list at all, because I liked it and it's good, and I don't want to trash talk on it. So it's my least fave, or closest to a fave. Anyways. So I read Paolo Bacigalupi because I really love his eco-punk world building, and this focused more on a character from previous books that proved popular with fans, or that the author really wanted to tell more stories about, but it just kind of shifted the entire spotlight to tonally shifted the story, I guess, and I didn't really, it just wasn't really what I was hoping for out of the continuation of the Shipbreaker series. It wasn't bad. I liked it.
Did it feel more like one of those things where it's a one-off book about a character? Authors sometimes do those, where it's a novella almost.
Yes, except that it's not. It's clearly not. Because I'm now realizing that series was always about this character, and just...
Really? I guess that makes sense, because
kept it increasingly
one in both of the books.
Took an increasingly larger role. And just each book has a bigger and bigger role in the story, and I'm just I don't know if it was always about that character, but
your bad reviews made me interested in this book,
because it's not a bad book. It's just not what I wanted.
I understand that. I want another water knife. Get on that, Paolo.
Or
Water
honestly,
Knife.
another Wind Up Girl. I really liked Wind Up Girl.
It is good. That one was hard to read, though. It's like reading literary, like highbrow literary fiction.
I want something in between, honestly. I want something more Water Knifey, but in the setting of Wind Up Girl.
I want another book in the Drowned Cities. Can we get an adult book set in the Drowned Cities?
I mean, it sort of is a little bit the Tool of War.
That's a YA, though.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. I mean, and I think they're the same world, maybe. I don't know. His worlds are so similar.
I think it's the same world, but later.
It might be.
Yeah.
Anyways, though, that's my not faves for this year. So
Paolo Bacigalupi tangent wrapped up there.
we need to do a video on him at some point.
We do. We have read a lot of Paolo Bacigalupi, like, back to back.
I've read so much. Like, all his or most of his short stories, at least. Man, some will stick with you. Teaser for a future video. Paolo Bacigalupi.
You tease in all sorts of videos. Okay, so what's left? Our goals. Check-in.
Yeah, I kind of wish we'd done that first in a way, because it would have provided context for why I had trouble coming up with 5 of each, because I read 35 books this year, and I think my goal was originally 24.
Well, you made your goal.
And upped it a couple of times as I just kept reading more. But yeah, so I mean, 10 books was like a third of what I read almost. So I had troubles.
Was that your only goal? I thought you had another one.
I think it was just to like read more diversely, which I think I succeeded in. I
thought it was something. Didn't you have a goal about writing reviews?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have reviewed everything I've read this year. I think I might have dropped off here in the last month.
But you've done pretty good about it.
I was gonna say, if I haven't, I just have like 1 or 2 books to catch up on. But I think my Goodreads is up to date. I'll have to double check that. I've still got time before the end of the year to finish all my reviews if I need to.
You have a couple of days.
Yeah, it's what, like 26th?
Yeah.
The when we're filming this?
I really won one of my goals. Like, I really surpassed it. And then I kind of didn't one of the others. My original, goal, how many books I wanted to read, was I wanted to read 25. I read, I think, 65 so far. And I think I'm going to finish another one before the end of the year. Though I might not, because it's the holiday season and we throw a big New Year's party. And I don't have very much time with a toddler to, prepare for things, except for late evening. So, which is also when I read. So we may not get through that.
And when we film these.
Yes, and when we film. So, but yeah, I read, 65 books. And I think that most of them were pretty good. I had a pretty good reading year. I've actually been keeping a little, bullet journal, page on statistics of my reading. I will probably put that up on Instagram at the end of the year, and I will link that down below. Other than that, I had put a list together of 17 books or 20 books I was going to read, and I read them all except one, and I'm not going to read it. I just don't want to, and I don't see the point. I did not read Sorcerers of the Crown by Zen Cho, I think is his name. And it's not even that it's a bad book. It's going to stay on my to-read. I just could not motivate myself to want to read it. And I've read so much this year that I really don't want to slow down my reading by making myself read something that I don't want to read. And I still did read down my to-read list on Goodreads a lot. Because I read other books that were not on my list originally that were on the long TBR. So I think I mostly just kind of traded that one out, but I still just don't feel like I won that challenge.
That's fair.
It is what it is.
But
65 books is not terrible. That's the most I've read
great.
in 4 years combined. College did a number on me. I had not read much since then.
Yeah. I've definitely tapered off here in the last month or two, but kept up a pretty good pace there for a while, and I got a lot more books than I expected to read, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think we did good.
Yeah. That's all we really have to say in this video, so.
Yeah.
It's the end of the year. We're getting tired. We've been sick. It's been the holidays. A lot of things going on.
Definitely, tell us what your favorites were, what your least favorites were, down in the comments. Tell us how you think we did on our goals. Tell us how you did on your goals. We'd love to hear from you.
Did you read any of the books that we read?
Oh, yeah. Did we recommend any books to you that, you actually...
I'm really hoping that we inspire some people to pick up some books. Specifically the Broken Earth trilogy, because we've really, really tried to get people to read those books.
Yeah. But yeah, give us a like, subscribe if you want to see the videos I've been teasing. And we'll see y'all again next time.
Bye.
Bye.